Hi. How many of y'all go to Greenwood? Hands? Then you know this already. If you don't go, then you're going to find out. I really like to tell bad jokes.
Yeah, we know that.
And I brought one just for you tonight. There is a farmer down in Terre Haute. Y'all know where that's at? Down yonder. This guy was a very particular farmer. And he had a habit every year at the end of the harvest to inspect his fields and walk through all of it and look for damages and anything he needed to do and plan for next year. This particular day, he was out and came across a large, very dead rabbit. He'd been dead probably 2 days, and he really, really smelled. And this happened to be next to a residential area. He didn't want to be offensive to his neighbors, so he decided to go back to his truck and get a can of lime and bring it back and spread all of his body so it would decay faster. He wouldn't offend his neighbors. And that's what he did. He came back, spread it all over the farmer, all over the rabbit, emptied the entire can on him. Went about his business. Probably 5 or 10 minutes later, he looked back. You know what? The rabbit came back to life. He did. He was standing up and he's stretching real slow like that. Of course, if you've been dead for 2 days, you'd be stiff too. But the rabbit saw him, and he looked up and he waved at him. He took a few hops away, he looked back and waved at the farmer a second time. And right before he disappeared into the woods, he turned back one last time, waved at the farmer, and was gone. Well, this guy standing back here, just jaw hanging open. He'd never seen a rabbit come back to life before. When he came to his senses, he looked at the can still in his hand and realized he hadn't sprayed him down with lime after all. What he'd done was sprayed him down with hair restore over a permanent wave. I told you that to tell you this. That has nothing to do with what's on my heart tonight. Nothing at all. I've been a rainmaker for 3 years, chair at Greenwood for a year and a half. It's been a huge amount of fun. But the rainmakers is part of a big industry that I will call the self-help industry. It's huge. I don't know how big the dollar figure is on this, but it's an immense industry. They've got, there's companies like this one all over the country. There's books, magazines, CDs, movies, websites. There's speakers out there who travel around giving motivational speeches. There's some of you here that do that. All is designed to make you positive and do whatever it is you do better. As I got this speech ready, I got to thinking, and it occurred to me that the principles and the ideals we use to manage people and to get along with people have been around since before dirt. And with your permission, tonight I want to talk to you about 4 of them. Principle 1. Do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but the humility. Let each regard one another as more important than themselves. The late Stephen Ambrose wrote a book called Band of Brothers that HBO made a miniseries. How many of y'all seen that? Isn't that a great movie? Great book? Band of Brothers is about a company of soldiers in World War II called Easy Company. Easy was a company of parachute infantry. For those of you who have no military experience, these are the guys that jumped out of airplanes directly into combat. They're very highly trained infantrymen. Easy was the company that dropped behind German lines about 6 hours before the Normandy invasion on June 6, 1944. And they were hugely instrumental in the success of that day. They also were involved in Operation Market Garden in Holland. They were at the encirclement of Bastogne, and they were the unit that had the privilege to capture Adolf Hitler's personal residence in southern Germany. Very storied unit. Well, Mr. Ambrose in the movie both do a really good job of describing the personalities of Easy Company's 6 wartime commanders. And to illustrate my point, I want to talk about 2 of them. The first one was their 5th commander, was a guy named Norman Dyke, who the soldiers called Foxhole Norman. Everything Foxhole Norman did revolved around him. Every action he took, every decision he made was around him. And Norman Dyke didn't know the soldiers he was expected to lead into combat, and he didn't want to know them. He wasn't there most of the time. They needed him. They couldn't find the guy. He was off doing whatever it is he was doing. And to this day, they don't know what he did, but he was gone most of the time. He wasn't there for the soldiers. He didn't know their names and didn't want to know their names. He wasn't involved in their lives. And these are men he was asked to die for him. He wasn't there. Their third commander was a fellow by the name of Dick Winters. Dick Winters was a Pennsylvania farm boy. Dick knew in his heart that he would not be successful unless his soldiers were successful. So everything he did was designed to tell them and communicate to them that they were more important than he was. He couldn't take the hill, he couldn't take the attack and win the attack without their support. He knew their names, he knew their family names, he knew their stories, he was involved in their lives. He trained with them. As a matter of fact, he led the training. He was there every single time, going first each time. Because he knew he had to be there to set the example for them. You talk to the soldiers today, the ones that survived the war, and they will tell you they don't know how Dick Winters survived the war. He was always first in combat. You watch a movie, there's a scene in one of the miniseries where he goes first in combat by himself, all alone. He did that because he knew he was less important than they were behind him. Ask yourself what legacy you want to leave behind tonight between those two. And here's I want to make a sub-point. This is a sub-principle I want to point out to you. If you're leading or managing people, I want to tell you that without them, you're nothing. Without your team, without your coworkers, without your support staff, without your customers, without your strategic partners, and most importantly, without your family, you're nothing. You can act like your career and title are more important than anything around you, and that's great. You might have a good career, but you'll have no relationships. None whatsoever. Principle 2. Don't just look after your own interests. Look after the interests of others. Everybody's sitting next to somebody here, or standing, one of the two. You may know the person next to you, you may not. You may know their wishes and goals and desires because they have them. We've all got wishes and goals we have for our lives. If you don't know them, you've not taken the time to get to know, or you don't know the person next to you, which I want to ask you, you came here to meet people and the person next to you don't know what's up with that. Good question. A strategic relationship requires that you find the goals and desires of the people in your relationships and help them intentionally to meet those goals. Because I'm here to tell you, if you do that, there's a pretty good chance that they'll do the same for you.